Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be working on some seed starting, which I'm actually very excited about. This is probably the favorite time of the year when I get really excited about seed starting because we are going to sow a bulk of our flowers for the summertime. Now March is kind of like go time. We have a ton of different flowers that we are going to be starting today, and it just makes me really excited about all of the beautiful colors that we're going to have in our garden soon. I also wanted to give you guys an update on the flowers that we winter sowed back, I think it was in January if I'm not mistaken, and I want to show you how those are looking. We are actually going to up pot some of the things that are sprouting and getting kind of big. So we're going to pop those up into 4-inch containers, and then we will just have a look to see how everything else is doing. We're going to go through all of the flowers that we're going to be starting today, but I just wanted to refer back to when we were purchasing our seeds back in early January, I believe it was. And I talked a little bit about the components that you need to think about when you're thinking about growing flowers for cut flowers and bouquets, whether you're going to be selling these bouquets or you're just going to have them in your home for personal use, whatever it may be. There are 5 things that you want to consider when you're growing and selecting your flowers. Number 1 is going to be your focal flowers. Now again, these can be your dahlias, your sunflowers, zinnias. We kind of went over a list when we were purchasing seeds together. So that's going to be category number 1. Number 2 is going to be our filler, so our foliage. Are we growing things that have pretty foliage? Because a lot of the flowers I grow, like zinnias and dahlias, they don't have the most beautiful foliage. So it's nice to supplement something into our bouquets to just make it a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just a little bit more full. So the foliage is really going to be the backdrop for our flowers. Number 3 is going to be our spike element. Again, that's going to be snapdragon, larkspur, foxglove, anything that has that linear spike element to it, that is going to be very important in your bouquets. Number 4 is going to be our supporting flowers. I also like to think about these as our disc flowers. So anything that has a disc-like shape, things like daisies, let's see, we can use pincushion flowers, cabeosa. We can use echinacea is a really good one. Achillea is an excellent one that you can also have in the landscape, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Any lacy flower, anything like that, that again has that disc-like shape to it, is going to be a really good supporting flower. And number 5 is going to be our airy accent. Those are the flowers that make you want to touch the bouquet. Those are going to be things like cosmos. You can use chocolate flower. You can use verbena. You can use ornamental grasses that have a really nice seed head. So anything that again just adds a little bit of flowiness and a little bit of movement to your bouquet, those are going to be really, really important to really, again, create a cohesive look to your bouquet. All right, now that we have that out of the way, let's quickly just go over seed starting with some of our heavy hitters today, which is going to be zinnias. We have cosmos, and we have a bunch of other things that I'm going to show you. But I just want to, again, just go over the technique for some of these. They're really simple. It's just going to be, again, basic seed starting like we've done in our other videos. These seeds are a little bit different, so I just wanted to show you what those look like. And then we will move into looking at our winter sown flowers. I already got our seed trays ready for us the other day, so I'm just going to pop up that footage for you now. So again, following the same steps that I do for all of our seeds, and I am going to also be using the vermiculite. So you can see we're just following the same steps that we always do when we start seeds. I did want to go over all of the varieties that we're going to be starting today, and we'll go ahead and start some together, and then I will spend the rest of the day getting all of these sown. But I did want to go over the varieties that we have, and let's start out with our zinnias. Now zinnias are kind of like our heavy hitter along with our dahlias. Those are the bulk of the flowers that I like to use for bouquets. So it's really important for me to have a wide variety of different colors and different forms, because again, that just adds a lot of interesting textures and looks to your bouquets. And they're also an amazing cut flower to have in the landscape. So you guys know we don't have a ton of space. I mean, we do grow a lot of cut flowers, which is such a blessing, but eventually when we find our next home and we have a ton more space to grow a ton more flowers, it's going to be great. But now I'm always looking for things to incorporate into my landscape. Zinnias is definitely going to be one of those flowers. One, they are very hardy in terms of like, they don't have like that little movement to them, but they do look beautiful in groupings. So if you're thinking about planting zinnias in your garden, I definitely recommend clusters of them or even like a small little drift. That way you are going to have a steady flow of flowers. That way you can use for your bouquets and also use in your landscape. So we're really pairing and marrying function and beauty together. For our zinnias, there are a few that I have from Floret that are from last year. They didn't sell seeds this year. So I just have like a little bit left over. Like I am treasuring these so badly because I can't wait to grow more of her zinnias next year. But I have Alpenglow, I have Precious Metals, and Golden Hour. And again, I only have maybe like 10 seeds per packet. So hopefully they all germinate. I did have really good success with those last year. I think everything germinated. So great germination rate. So the other varieties that we got came from Johnny Seeds, and I'm just gonna go over all of these real quick. So we have Queenie Red Lime. We have Agave, which is a new one, and it's so pretty. I think it's a cactus, if I'm not mistaken. It's a cactus one, which I don't really tend to go for the cactus ones, but this one is gorgeous. We have Aurora, which again is a new one, so stunning. Cinderella Peach, Ballerina, which is stunning. It's right up my alley with those peachy, creamy, buttery tones. And again, that is a new variety for this year. We also have Oklahoma Pink. We have Uproar Rose, and that's a repeat. Giant Orange. Benary's Giant Carmine Rose, which is a really like bright color in your face, but it's so pretty. Queenie Lime with Blush, Queenie Lemon Peach, Giant Coral, Benary's Giant Coral, Benary's Giant Salmon Rose. Let's see here. Benary's Giant White, Oklahoma Ivory, and Queenie Lime Orange. I don't know if I've said that one already, but so those are the ones that we are going to be starting today. Now each packet has about 50 seeds. I'm obviously not going to grow all of that because, I mean, I would love to, but I just don't have the space for that. But I will grow probably a minimum of 20 of each variety. Now with the Ballerina and some of the softer peachy ones, I will definitely grow more of, because again, a lot of bouquets that I like to make tend to kind of sway into that peachy tone, but I do also want to have a lot of bright colors available so we can make bouquets with those bright colors as well. And one quick note that I wanted to mention is if you're looking for just a powerhouse zinnia, any of the Benary series are going to be great. Those tend to be really big. Their stems are really nice and sturdy, so those are really great focal flowers. I also really love the Cinderella mixes because those tend to look like a scabiosa. That shape, it almost looks like a little pom-pom. So those are really fun, and again, adds a little bit of a different look to your bouquet versus like a traditional zinnia will. So let me show you how I'm going to start multiple zinnias in one tray, and then we will move on to our next flower. Now with zinnias, they typically have a really good germination rate, so it's okay if you want to start 2 seeds per cell. I might do a few cells with multiple seeds. That way, if one doesn't germinate, I have a backup. However, I found that zinnias are pretty reliable, so I don't do multiple seeds per cell. There are other flowers that I will sow multiple seeds just because their germination rate might be like 77%. And you can usually find that on the packet of wherever you're purchasing your seeds from. And there is one more mix that I want to buy from another seed company that you guys mentioned. I think it was Sparrow, oh gosh, I cannot remember. Swallowtail, maybe? I'm not sure. But I kind of want to get one more mix. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20. So I just make a little depression with zinnias. And that is what the seeds look like. And so I will just go to do a couple in this first row here. All right, then we will just put our tag there, and I am just going to put my new tag here so I know which cells already have seeds on them. And then I'll just gently cover that up. And then we will add in vermiculite here at the end. You just want to make sure that your seed is making contact with the soil. For our Cinderella peach, I am going to actually do 30 of these. So just make our quick little depressions. We have that tray done, and you could totally just sprinkle soil on top instead of just covering it the way I did. I just like to pinch it. And then we are going to come in with our vermiculite. And sometimes I forget covering them all together with the soil, and I just use the vermiculite. That works just fine too. Okay, we will just cover these up with our humidity dome, and then we will take these indoors into our seed starting room. And you can sow them outside once you've passed your last frost date, which again, you can just Google in your area, type in your city and then type in last frost date and it will tell you. For us, it's usually around mid-April. And if you are going to start these indoors, you want to do about 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. Again, starting them indoors is just going to give us a little bit of a kickstart. So that's why I like to get all of these started indoors and then I will bring them outside. I can just direct sow them into our beds, which I have done in the past before, and that's worked amazing. But again, I just want to get a head start on these. Most of the flowers that we're starting today are supposed to be started 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. Next is going to be celosia. Again, these are some of my favorite flowers. These are going to be part of our spike element in our bouquet. Now, these are the ones from Flora, again, that I have from last year. I did save a bunch of seeds. I don't have pictures of them because we haven't seen them yet, but I did save a lot of seeds from last year that I am going to grow out as well and see what those look like. But for our celosia, I have pink chenille, coral reef, sponge sugar, rose gold, glowing embers, and dusty rose. Now these are also a flower that I like to incorporate in the landscape. However, for these, I actually like to use ones that have more of a spiky plume and not more of like a coral-like plume to them. So let's see, which one did I love last year? Okay, rose gold, beautiful. Love this one so much, very vigorous. This one looks really great in the landscape. Again, it has kind of like a feathery, spiky element to it. Let's see, was it sponge sugar? Yes, it was sponge sugar. This was beautiful and they got pretty tall. I think these are about, they're supposed to get 36 to 48 inches tall. So these are really amazing in the landscape as well. Now there's just so many beautiful varieties of celosia. I will make sure to link down a couple of seed companies that I would recommend you guys order some from if you haven't already. But these are definitely going to be amazing in our bouquets and also in our landscape. So let me show you these seeds and then we will move on to the next flower. So these seeds are very tiny, as you can see, and you could either tap them into each cell or you can take like a little pick. I'm taking a plant tag. Just lick it with your tongue and then pick one up individually, just like this. So that is one way to do it. It just really depends on what you want to do. So I will just tap these in and see how that goes. And now these are very tiny, so you're barely going to cover them. And instead of covering them with soil, which you can do, I am going to cover them with the vermiculite. Now with these, I did sow more than one per cell just to ensure we have something, because these are from last year. So of course your germination rate will go down the older the seed is. But that is it for our celosia. Now you can, again, sow these outdoors. You just want to make sure that your temperatures warm up, because these are sensitive to the cold climate. So just wait on those if you are going to direct sow them outside. All right, for the next flowers, I just want to go over which ones we are going to sow. Now, again, I'm not going to demonstrate every single one how we're going to sow them in cells, because nobody has time for that, to watch me do that, but it's not that exciting. We're going to follow the same steps for everything, but the next flowers that we are going to be starting today is going to be pincushion flower, and this one is Scabiosa stellata. This one is very cool. In fact, let me just show you what that seed looks like. This seed pack is from like 2022, I think. So I will sow these heavily, but these are really fun. And I do bury these, but they're just like these little fuzzy little seed. I'm also going to be sowing Black Knight Scabiosa. Let's see, that's also the same. Salmon Rose, and then Fatima Morgana. I might order another variety too. I think a couple of you reached out to me on Instagram and told me about a different variety that you loved. So I'm going to go back to those conversations and order maybe one or two more different varieties, because these are amazing flowers. And I will say, Scabiosa again is going to be that either airy accent or that supporting flower. These are very expensive to buy at florist or even like a grocery store. So if you have the opportunity to start these, I would highly recommend you do that. All right, the other seed I am going to be sowing right now in March is going to be straw flowers. So I have cranberry rose, bright rose, and I think that's it for our straw flowers. I might actually order a white one. I believe when we were shopping together, I think they were out. If I recall, I need to double check. The next thing I'm going to be sowing right now is going to be lacy pink didiscus and then lacy lavender blue didiscus. Those are so pretty. And if you're looking for a true blue flower, highly recommend the lacy lavender blue. It is so pretty. I love it so much. And then I also have red spike amaranth. Again, that's going to be our spike element in our bouquet. For some foliage, I am going to be growing out sweet Thai basil, which I don't have with me right now, but that was a really beautiful filler last year. And then I also have citrus everleaf lemon. This I think is new. I can't recall, but I'm very excited about this foliage one. There's a ton of foliage you can grow, and if you have the space to just go wild and grow all of the greens for your bouquets, I love that for you. And one day I'll have that space. But right now I just really want to focus on the flowers. And I'm also going to be growing borage, which will be my first time, but these are super expensive flowers. Last year I was doing a bridal bouquet and I had bought like a little, maybe it was like 3 or 5 little stems of it. And I was taken back at how expensive it was. So this is definitely going to be fun to grow. Now you can sow these indoors, but they do better if you direct sow them outside. So I'm going to experiment and sow them in trays or maybe just like in 4-inch containers and leave them outside and see how they do. But these are amazing little flowers. They're also edible and they're going to look beautiful in our landscape. Okay, the next category of flowers we are growing are going to be cosmos. Now, cosmos are amazing for your landscape. I am not going to grow these in our beds. These will strictly go out into my landscape. One, they are a great cut and come again flower. When you're thinking about flowers to put into your landscape, always stick to something that's cut and come again, because the more you cut, the more they're going to come back. And if you're limited on space, those are the flowers I like to stick to because you're going to get more bang for your buck and they're going to be blooming for you all season long. So again, functionality and beauty, marrying those two together. So for cosmos, I have cupcake white, I have zinnia, rubunza, apricota, cupcake blush, and afternoon white. So again, these, I will say with cosmos, plant them in an area that has plenty of airflow and try to stick to the spacing. I think you're supposed to space these 9 to 12 inches apart. I fudge my spacing numbers a lot with everything I grow. For example, our zinnias, I will space those like 8 inches, 9 inches, sometimes a little bit closer. That's just what I do, and it's worked really well for me. But with Cosmos, I noticed these tend to get a lot of powdery mildew for us, and it's probably because it's humid for us here. So I'm thinking that's why. So I'm going to give them a little bit more breathing room. So that is one thing to keep in mind if you're planting Cosmos. They do tend to put on quite a bit of size, and their foliage is just very like fine. But there's a lot of it. So it's important to give these the space that they want. And lastly, I am going to be starting sweet peas, which I am so late to doing this. If you are in zones 8 and above, which we are, you should actually sow these in the fall time because they're just going to be more vigorous for you. However, I didn't. And so I am really late to the game. So I'm going to start these today. And I think I'm going to just start these in 4-inch containers. If you're growing sweet peas right now, anything that has a deeper cell is going to be ideal because they do grow a deep root. Also with the borage. So I forgot to mention the borage also grows a big taproot. So it's important to direct sow them, or you can put them into a bigger container. But anyways, back to the sweet peas. I am so excited about these, and sweet peas are quickly coming up to my list as like definitely top 5 flowers that I love. And these are from the Farmhouse Flower Farm, my friend Marin Mathis, which you guys know we've done a tour on her farm. We're definitely going back there this summertime, which I cannot wait to show you guys. But anyways, these are her sweet peas, and the varieties that I have is Winter Sunshine, Mid Blue, Patricia Maryland, Peter George Whale, Albert Blue, 2 of those, and then Granny's Garden Mix. Now, sweet peas are just one of the most romantic flowers to grow in your garden. We have trellises along one side of our fence that we grow sweet peas on. I just love when you're walking by, you get that beautiful scent just like hitting you in the face. It's such a beautiful flower. I love to use them in bouquets, but I also just love having them in our landscape. If you have like an obelisk, these would go really great in an obelisk. In fact, we had one right off to next to one of our benches out here, and it was just trailing up into this little obelisk, and it was just so romantic and beautiful. But if you want to get into sweet peas, like really dig in, I highly recommend this book. So Marin Mathis just came out with this book, Sweet Pea School. It is such a gorgeous book. She sent me this out in a PR package, which I love that she did that. I was already buying mine anyway, so I have a couple of copies now, which is fine. This is such a gorgeous book. I mean, just the photography alone, the lessons that you're going to get in this book is invaluable. I highly recommend. I will make sure to link it down below for you guys to order if you are interested. But oh my gosh, there's nobody who does sweet peas like Marin, and this is why she is named the Sweet Pea Queen. I love this book so much. I already went through it. Like as soon as I got it, I was like deep into it, and there's some incredible things in this book. So again, with the sweet peas, I am just going to grow them out in these 4-inch containers. I will probably put 2 to 3 seeds per container, let them grow, and then I will quickly transplant them outside. Again, it is a little bit late for us here, but it's going to be fine. I've grown sweet peas this late in the season, and they've done great. So those are the varieties I'm going to be growing now. I do have some other ones that I purchased from Johnny Seeds. I just can't find them, but I know I have them somewhere. So anyways, that is going to be it for the flowers that I'm going to be starting now. There are some other varieties too that I think I might order just because why not? I don't know. I'm just getting real crazy with the flowers this year, even more so than last year and the year before. The other quick thing I wanted to mention is poppies. We winter sow these, and some of them are coming up, other ones are not. And I think it's because I let things dry out, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. And then I had started another tray, and that tray fell off the table, and I didn't sow anymore. So I'm thinking we can actually direct sow these outside 4 to 6 weeks before our last frost date. So I'm tempted to just go ahead and start them in trays and leave them out here and see how they do. All right, let's have a look at the seeds that we winter sowed. All right, here is our tray of echinacea. These are taking a bit of time. And again, I think it's because I accidentally let them dry out. So not super great germination rate, but pretty good. This is our tray with more echinacea. I believe. Let me just double check. Yep, echinacea, and then lupine. The lupine is looking really good. And then we have our jugs, and these are looking really good. I haven't opened these yet, but I did peek through. Ooh, very good. Wow, wow, wow. These look amazing. Oh my gosh, okay. Super excited. And now for our snapdragons, I don't want to open this up quite yet because they are teeny tiny and I am not going to transplant these yet. But let me see if I can try to snap a picture of what they look like inside. So these I am going to leave aside. Again, we lost trays because I just was clumsy and everything fell off a table one day when I was out here. And you know what? It is what it is. We still have these to play with and up pot. With the echinacea, I think I'm going to leave these in here for a little bit longer, just so we can start getting a little bit more growth. And it is starting to warm up a bit. So I think these are going to start taking off here real quick. And then we can either just transplant them directly out or we will up pot them in a couple of weeks and then get them out into the landscape shortly after. I think a lot of us have had really great success with the milk jugs. It works so nicely. So I'm very, very proud of that. Let's go ahead and up pot these. So for up potting our seedlings, we're just going to be using some good potting soil. And these will go into 4-inch containers and I will leave them outdoors because they've been outdoors. So we don't have to harden anything off or acclimate it. It's already done all of that. So you can use a little butter knife and you're just going to gently come in here and start scooping these out. You can just cut like a little square around them and just try to be gentle. And we will lift it up just like that. Plop them in here to their new little homes for now. And backfill that up. So in the end, this is what you're going to have. Now we'll just follow that same process for all of our lupine. All right, now that these are done, let's go ahead and water them in and give them a little bit of fertilizer. Since these already have their true leaves, I am going to start fertilizing them, just like we do with our other seedlings. And any good, just all-purpose plant food will work just fine. All right, those look like they're good to go. I will just leave them here and let them drink up. That's it. Real quick, I wanted to show you some of the seedlings that we started to harden off. And hardening off is just a transition from indoor to outdoor. So I usually I bring them out here for a couple of hours the first time and I bring them back in. Then the next day I'll bring them out for a little bit longer and so forth. So last night was their first night outside all night long and they did really well. So here we have our verbena, which we actually just up potted together. Oh gosh, was it like a week or two ago? And I went ahead and pinched them and do you see all of that new growth? Look at all of that beautiful branching. These are going to be beautiful. Our northern oats are still doing its own thing. Our first tray of snaps that I brought out are looking kind of sad, but that's okay. I think they were too warm inside. So hopefully they'll bounce back, but I'm not too worried about those. And then we have our pansies, which are looking beautiful. These are putting on so much growth just in the last couple of days. They've really started just to go for it. So I'm very excited about these guys. All right, I think that will do it for today's seed starting project. I am so excited to be out here and getting these sown because it just means we're one step closer to warmer weather, brighter colors, and just all of the beautiful things that is going to be growing in our garden. I am going to spend the rest of the afternoon sowing all of these other seeds, which I'm very excited about and looking forward to. And then we will just do another update on some of the other winter sown flowers and see how they're doing. Again, I might start out the poppies and just see what happens. If anything happens, great. If not, I'm okay with that. And I think that's it. I think we got everything done. I'm really excited. Like, I'm really like eager for all of these flowers to be blooming in our garden. And I know I'm sowing a lot of flowers and I might not use all of them, but I'll surely have enough to share with my friends and neighbors as well. And I always like to over sow versus under sow, if that makes sense. So I just like to have more flowers just in case. You just never know. And I'm also going to be starting our tomatoes, our pumpkins, and a few other things here shortly. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely excited to have veggies. You guys know we love tomatoes in this house. Like, this house is a tomato house. If there's one veggie we can grow really, really well, it's tomatoes. So that makes me very proud, and I like to wear that crown happily and proudly. I would love to know what seeds you guys are starting right now in your areas. And I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today in my garden, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.